Kamala Harris' running mate, Tim Walz, is defending his military service as he faces accusations of stolen valor. Here he is in Wisconsin yesterday.
At 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation.
Walz has spent nearly 2 decades talking about his service. Here he is in 2007 talking about a deployment that other veterans are now calling into question.
I spent 24 years in the National Guard, some of that full-time. I was an artilleryman. I deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. My battalion provided base security throughout the European theater from Turkey to England in the early stages of the war in Afghanistan. And that same battalion is now in Iraq at this time.
Navy veteran Jared Sessler is running for Congress in Washington's 4th District, and he's a former NASCAR driver. He joins me now. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You are a veteran and you're running for Congress. And when you look at some of these little clips of Walz kind of using his service to run for Congress and just letting people really fill in the gaps is what he's doing. If you arrive at the conclusion that he deployed to a combat zone, that's not his fault. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's terrible, and I think it's just obvious to the left is a similar tactic where they're always trying to be what we do every single day. It's sort of like people in Hollywood pretending to, do the things that we do in normal life every day, and I think it's really offensive to the, roughly 1.2 million people who gave their lives for this country to be able to enjoy the freedom and liberty that we enjoy.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter or X someone that I follow that's associated with Barstools. He's more liberal, and he's saying that it's common for people to degrade the service of someone running for president or vice president. He talked about McCain. He talked about Kerry. I think this is a lot different because if anyone degraded Walz's service, he did by turning it into something else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's essentially, he's taking credit for something that he didn't necessarily do. You contrast that to someone like J.D. Vance, who has a very similar history that I do, where, people like us who've actually been through difficult and hard times, whether it was in the military or personal life, we embrace that because we realize that it's our challenges that actually made us the great Americans that we are today.
Wait, man, you're the first Civ Div. That's cool, man.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, what was your IDIOT number?
32-86543.
You just gave me your idiot number, moron, and there's no such thing as the 1st Civilian Division.
Hey, man, who the hell are you?
Your insignia says that you're in the 5th Marines. There hasn't been a 5th Marine since 1969. Stolen valor! Stolen valor! My friends died wearing that uniform, you fat little bitch. Stolen valor!
It's a hot one today. Holy moly. Tim Walz, or as we shall call him, Tim A. Walz, is the bad choice for Kamala Harris. Did they want to lose this election? This is a question that I have. Do they want to lose this election? Holy smokes, man. Has this thing ever gone down in flames? Of course, Tim Walz wouldn't have ever seen anything go down in flames or ever get shot at. Donald Trump's been shot at more than Tim Walz. Today is Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Tim Walz's stolen valor scandal is now a nuclear 9 meltdown panic for the Democrat Party, and there's no getting around it. We're bringing all the receipts on today's show. Kamala Harris snaps at protesters at rally after getting mogged by J.D. Vance. Plain mogging. Bring it back, baby. Congressman Wesley Hunt joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. You may have noticed that the stock market crashed earlier this week and now got back up. And guess what that means? You can see it on a chart. There are these little historic dips that happen before massive crashes. Protect yourself, protect your investments, protect your future. Go with my friends at Allegiance Gold. Make sure that you are investing in something that diversifies outside of the stock market. You can even invest your 401ks into gold. The gold markets have been steady and have been rising to record highs. If you've been listening to me for the last few years, you would know, and you'd be on that train. Ladies and gentlemen, protectwithbenny.com today. Call 844-66-BENNY. Protectwithbenny.com today. $5,000 in free silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't get fooled by inflated values in stocks and crypto. Everything's a roller coaster. Make sure that you are diversified and that you protect yourself. Crazy things are about to happen. We're going to start something today that I really want to put a shoulder into. And I want to make sure that we talk about this correctly. Because these service communities, when you are either in the military or you're a cop, or no matter how you are serving in a law enforcement or military capacity, these service communities are tight knit. They're communities you don't want to F with. They're communities that obviously are here to serve the American public. That's what they signed up for. They're brothers in arms. I will state for you unequivocally that I have not signed up for the military. This is not my calling. This is not what I did as a young man. Okay? And so the best that we can do on this program is to give voices to those who did serve. So we want to approach these issues from a position of respect, right? To platform correctly the people who actually did the work. We can comment all we want, and we're going to. We're going to bring the receipts. Because honor is something that all men and women should and could and can know. Because there are various ways to serve your country. There are a lot of ways to live as an honorable man. Consider what Tim Walz did like this. Because most of you have families. Did you abandon your family? I can tell you this, and I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings. Actually, I'm not sorry at all. If you abandon your family in great time of need, then you're a bad person. Are you a leader in your company or your community, your church? Are you an elder? Are you somebody who people look up to? When times got tough for your business, recession, when it was hard to pay the bills, when people were coming after you, maybe there was a bad news cycle or a scandal. Happens to us about once a week. Did you abandon your team? Did you hang your head? Did you retreat? Well, you're a bad leader. I can call you that. So we're going to bring on military experts multiple times today. Brian Mast, who lost limbs serving his country. Wesley Hunt, who's deployed to combat zones, flew helicopters in combat zones all throughout Iraq. They'll be joining the program to sound off on this stuff. All right? But I'm going to speak about it from a moral perspective about duty. I have a family. I have a business. I have a community. We got employees. We have an audience. We have you. And we feel loyalty and allegiance to you, and honor is something that isn't dead yet in the West. And so much like we show up in good days and bad for our families, for our communities, for our businesses or our churches, ladies and gentlemen, you can view it through that lens, perhaps if you didn't serve. I have members of my family who serve and are still serving in the American military, who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, or who are cops working some dangerous beats. I got to tell you, man, my phone has been blowing up with veterans talking to me about this stuff because we've been pretty vocal on social media about it. A lot of these guys don't have voices. And so that's what this program's going to do, right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to be their voice. And we're going to talk to you about what stolen valor actually means. We've covered it on the show before, ironically, because Tim Walz is very similar with Joe Biden. They're both liars. And they lie on the backs of American soldiers, dead American soldiers. I'm not trying to be too brutal here. You legitimately watched Joe Biden look at his watch during a dignified transfer in Dover. 13 Americans that he killed in Afghanistan. The lady who bragged about being part of that decision, remember, Kamala Harris was out. Commie Kamala, we're going to call her Commie Kamala, and Tim A. Walz is what we're going to say on this program. If there are other nicknames for actually, ALX, please pin nicknames for Tim Walz up on the chat. Okay, you can vote. You can vote. I like Tim A. Walz. Maybe Tiny Timmy, Tampon Tim, and I don't know, a Walz to remember. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. Throw another one in there. Pin it to the chat. You can tell me what you want us to call Tim Walz. You voted for Kami Kamala overwhelmingly, and so she's Kami Kamala. From now, hitherto on this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Walz. This guy has been veteran communities have been blowing up my phone. These are tight-knit communities. It's important to treat these communities with respect and also to do the work. We have an audience that can speak on their behalf and can speak for them. And so my phone's been melting down. This guy has pissed off the veteran community and the tangential veteran community and enraged them over not lying about like small technical details, right? Which unit you were in, your rank, although he did do that, okay? The small sort of minutia, right? What regions you deployed to or anything. Tim Walz based his entire congressional career off of lying about what he did in the global war on terror and how he served his country. We will prove it demonstrably and empirically on this program. You'll be able to see it with your own eyes. These are not like teeny little oh, I got the detail about my deployment was actually in 2002, not 2003. It's not that kind of stuff. Oh, I forgot it was Anbar province. It was not the Pushwa province, whatever. I don't know. I don't. But I do know a lot of guys who do know. And we speak on their behalf. Some of them can't talk because they're still in the military. So I want to tell you, we put the show together with them in mind. And we devote this program to those men who actually honorably followed the call, protected their brothers in arms, and did not abandon their families, which is the way that I'm going to view this. Tim Walz abandoned his family. He was a leader in his unit, and he left those men to die. Much like Joe Biden left the men to die in Afghanistan, it's the same thing. Kamala Harris bragging about her part in all of that, Kamala's to blame too. So it's Kamala running for president, illegally installed, who got those men killed, men and women killed in Kabul, ladies and gentlemen, at the Abbey Gate. And it's Tim Walz who abandoned his unit of young men where he was a leader so that he could pursue a life inside of the Democrat machine running on the backs of those men to make sure that he had power, fame, and glory as those men, some of them, died in the trenches. Tim Walz is a despicable coward and a liar. And this little folksy, small town, father, Midwest dad thing, it all gets blown up, for lack of a better term. Not like Tim Walz would know what that's like. Again, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, Donald Trump's been shot at more than Tim Walz. Lock it up. There it is. That's a fact. Donald Trump knows what it's like to take a bullet. Tim Walz does not. Well, put that in the bank. That's the fact, Jack. Joe Biden lies about his son. Okay? These are who these people are. Joe Biden, in multiple occasions and on many occasions, lies about his son. Now, what's the truth about his son, Bo? And who the hell cares about Joe Biden? Look how quickly they threw that guy in the trash compactor, in the incinerator. But what's the truth? The truth is that his son died of brain cancer when he was serving as Attorney General of Delaware, wearing a suit to work every single day. Joe Biden was setting his kid up to run for his Senate seat, got brain cancer. That's a tragedy. He went and he died. He died. Okay? All right. We call it a tragedy on this program. And we're sorry that happens. Terrible thing. I have kids. I have a son. I couldn't ever imagine. But could I ever imagine if some tragedy befell my family? Could I imagine lying about it for power? That's what stolen valor ultimately is. It's to strip mine the sacrifices of real men and real American heroes for your own glory when you have no courage. So you get the benefits of what these men died for. Joe Biden regularly on the campaign trail and at various speeches claimed that his son died in Iraq. He said it, and he said it many times. That is a lie. That is called stolen valor, because his son didn't die in Iraq. It's untrue. What you mean to do is to steal from the people who did die in Iraq, global war on terror, who did die in combat zones. That's what Joe Biden is doing there. He's stealing from them. And that's what makes this practice so despicable. If you're hearing echoes of what may have happened in the 2004 presidential race, well, you'd be right, because John Kerry did the exact same thing to his unit in Vietnam. Now, this might be flipping a little too far back in the calendar for some viewers. I know we have a predominantly very young audience. Maybe you weren't paying attention in 2004. I was in high school. But in 2004, John Kerry was the dude who was running for president, and the Swift Boat veterans against John Kerry produced a series of ads. Here's one of them.
They had personally raped, cut off ears, cut off heads.
The accusations that John Kerry made against the veterans who served in Vietnam was just devastating.
Randomly shot at civilians.
And it hurt me more than any physical wounds I had.
Cut off limbs, blown up bodies.
That was part of the torture, was to sign a statement that you had committed war crimes.
Razed villages in fashion reminiscent of Genghis Khan.
John Kerry gave the enemy for free what I and many of my comrades in North Vietnam in the prison camps took torture to avoid saying. It demoralized us.
Crimes committed on a day-to-day basis.
He betrayed us in the past. How could we be loyal to him now?
Ravaged the countryside of South Vietnam.
He dishonored his country and, more importantly, the people he served with. He just sold them out.
Swift Boat Veterans for Truth is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Well, John Kerry lost, and lost devastatingly on election night, because these are not communities that you F with. These are not the communities that you insult or take for granted. Tim Walz is doing this. Tim Walz falsely claimed he was a veteran of Afghanistan. Tim Walz lied about his military service in not only Afghanistan, but also Iraq, and then also lied about his rank in the military. These are very, very big things. These are very important things. Did you pick up arms and go to war with your brethren or not? Tick the box. It's a yes or a no. And the answer for Tim Walz is no. Yet he predicated his entire political career on answering yes to that question. Let's read. A 2006 press release issued by his campaign, Walz described being a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom, that's the Afghanistan war, which began in October 2001, called Operation Enduring Freedom, to the Naval History and Heritage Command website. The operation's start came after September 11th, 2001 terror attacks. Democrat Tim Walz will spend Sunday, February 19th and Monday, February 20th, traveling across Minnesota's 1st District as he formally announces his candidacy to the United States. The press release reads, Walz, a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom and longtime educator, blah, blah, blah. In the photo on X, Walz can be seen holding up a sign, and let's put that photo up, Enduring Freedom Veteran. However, Tim Walz never deployed to Afghanistan. Tim Walz did not fight in Afghanistan. That is false. Yet here he is holding up a sign that he made himself, declaring that he did. The Washington Free Beacon reported that a veteran of the Iraq War addressed the issue with Walz, claiming to be an operation of Enduring Freedom with his aides back in 2009. Staffer reportedly claims that he was not aware that Walz had served in Afghanistan, while another aide reportedly acknowledged that constituents could get false information. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Walz did not serve in Afghanistan. Tim Walz is someone who decidedly has been pushing a narrative falsely and knowingly that he is a veteran of both the Afghanistan and Iraq War. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is an article in Bloomberg where Tim Walz, by the same author, has been doing interviews saying that he's an Iraq war veteran. This author who wrote this piece stealth edited it to say that Tim Walz, 24-year veteran, recently returned from serving in Iraq as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. What's the edit? The edit is recently returned from Italy as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. Well, I'm not familiar with any wars in Italy this half of the century. Perhaps Tim Walz could educate us on the difference between Iraq and Italy. Maybe veterans watching, I think, know the difference between Iraq and Italy. We'll have an Iraq war veteran on the program, Congressman Wesley Hunt, in just a few minutes. I look forward to asking him, do you know the difference between Iraq and Italy? The same author would go on and on and on to post in multiple stories about how Tim Walz is an Iraq war veteran. Tim Walz, on his own campaign website that has been deleted now. Check this out. This is from Tim Walz's 2006 campaign website. This is a press release. They're trying to say that this didn't exist. This is the smoking gun. In this press release, Tim Walz flat out admits that he is abandoning his battalion, if deployed to Iraq, to run for Congress. Walz still planning to run for Congress despite call to Iraq. Walz this is amazing, has decided that running for Congress is more important than deploying with his battalion, based largely of men and women from southern Minnesota, where he was the leader of the battalion. When asked about his possible deployment, I do not know yet if my artillery unit will be part of the mobilization, although his tour of duty in Iraq might coincide with the campaign for Minnesota's first congressional seat. Walz is determined to stay in the race. As Command Sergeant Major, I have a responsibility not only to ready my battalion for Iraq, but also to serve if called on. I am dedicated to serving my country in the best of my ability, whether in Washington, D.C. or Iraq. So what he said there is that he chooses Democrat Party politics over his battalion. He laid down arms, he surrendered to the enemy, and went to Washington. He collected 24 years of drill pay, fat and happy, sitting here stateside, and then when he got the call to go to war, he said, I'm out. Not only that, it's not like he's like some guy who's like sitting there as a private. He's the Command Sergeant Major in this unit. So he sent all these young men over there to die. Some of them did die. The tragedies of war. That's why we're against war. Tim Walz abandoned them. I saw one commenter online who's a veteran talking about this, saying, abandoning your unit right before deployment as a leader, as a Command Sergeant Major, is the equivalent of taking all of your children. Let's say you have a dozen kids in your family. You biologically have 12 children. It's like big of a family as you can possibly see. And they're all preteen. They're all young children. You take all of them and you load them up in the, giant tour bus that you have to travel in. You drive them to the orphanage and you kick every single one of them out at the orphanage and say, good luck. This is what the military community sees Tim Walz doing. Ooh, man. Tim Walz lies. He lies on camera multiple times about his service. Tim Walz, my battalion previously provided security in these early stages of the war in Afghanistan. Well, let me read that back to you. My battalion provided security in the stages of the war in Afghanistan. Doesn't that sound like he's doing security in Afghanistan? He's a liar. How carefully worded. What a scumbag this guy is. Here he is saying this in an interview.
background?
I spent 24 years in the National Guard, some of that full time. I was an artilleryman. I deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. My battalion provided base security throughout the European theater from Turkey to England in the early stages of the war in Afghanistan. And that same battalion is now in Iraq at this time.
Why are they in Iraq without you, Tim? Oh, that's strange. Could it be because you dropped them all off, those young men, at the orphanage? And you abandoned them? Here's the first campaign ad that Tim Walz ever ran. See if you can find the lie. Go.
The soldier who served for 2 decades, but ready when they attacked. Everyday heroes. Right here in Minnesota, Tim Walz is one of those everyday people. Coach to the state champs. Teacher of the year. Command Sergeant Major. Retiring 4 years late after a tour supporting the war in Afghanistan.
Wow, doesn't that sound like he went to Afghanistan? A tour in the war in Afghanistan. So carefully crafted in order to hide the truth that he never saw a war zone. As a matter of fact, you may not like it, but this is the reality. There are a lot of people online who don't happen to like the fact that everybody's digging into this, but it is true. Also, he wasn't a coach of the state champs. He was a defensive coordinator. So he's one of many coaches on a team, and he was not a head coach. So he continues to inflate himself and lie about his rank in the military, something that you certainly should not do. What do the people who served with him have to say? They're pretty pissed off about this. I mean, there's resurfaced videos now, all in my feed, of people confronting Tim Walz. This has been something that's been going on for a long time. In 2009, veterans confronted Tim Walz over his false claims of where and what he did during the War on Terror. This is a video that is 15 years old now. This is how long Tim Walz has been lying about his military career and stealing the valors of others. Here we go.
My name is Dave Thule. This is Travis Quinlan. We're both constituents and Iraq War vets. We're hoping to talk to someone about a photograph I have of Congressman Walz. Okay. Not sure if you have ever seen this picture before? Mm-mm. Okay. Well, in it depicts 2004 Afghanistan veteran. Right. Congressman Walz is not an Afghanistan war veteran, is he?
He served in Italy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
Okay, but he didn't serve in Afghanistan, did he?
Not that I'm aware of.
My concern, other than this picture, is that the congressman's website, his official biography, says simply that he was mobilized with his battalion in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Without any other details, don't you think it's reasonable people might assume that means he served in Afghanistan? Perhaps, I guess. Okay. So it's been 5 years now, or I guess almost 5 years.
So this Tim Walz's staff, they're directly saying, no, he didn't go to war zones. That dude was in Italy, and he looks like it. That dude spent the time singing the oldies, wobbling around the streets of Rome, eating pasta. This is what Tim Walz did. He was not in a combat zone. Yet he has said it time and time again. And so this is what stolen valor looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, the people who got their jobs put at risk, the people who had their lives put in the line of fire because Tim Walz decided to retreat and cower in the rear while other men actually answered the call. You know, it really is amazing that Tim Walz did 24 years in peacetime and then is trying to claim that he went and fought wars when given the opportunity to go. The man who took his place is still quite angry about it and has been trying to ring the bell for a very long time about who Tim Walz is. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the man who went to Iraq because Tim Walz decided to betray his brothers in arms.
He abandoned us, I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
We'll get to Barron's new message for voters in a moment. But this all starts years earlier when Barron says Walz' misleading statements about his military service first led him to come forward in the fall of 2018.
So you try to get this message out, but Minnesota's largest newspaper checks it out, says it's 100% true, but yet refuses to print.
When I hung the phone up, I said, what the hell is this, North Korea?
Back in 2005, a warning order went out to the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery to mobilize for a mission to Iraq. At the time, Walz served as the unit's highest non-commissioned officer, but months later, Walz would retire from the Guard, avoid the deployment, and run for Congress. Tom Behrens was next in line for the position and was asked to take his place.
I was like, well, for Pete's sake, if this guy quit, and if I say I'm not going to do it, I mean, what the hell kind of leadership is that? If a company would say that we're going to deploy to Iraq or somewhere and you're going to be gone for whatever amount of time, and then the foreman just says, no, I'm not going. I mean, what does that say to the 500 people that work in that factory?
Behrens would go on to serve in Iraq on a nearly 2-year deployment as a command sergeant major. All while Walz began using that title as a congressman. Behrens says he first contacted Walz with his concerns, sending these letters to Washington. They all went unanswered.
But then we fast forward to the election in 2018 in Minnesota, and you try at that time to get people's attention with this story and also with what seems to be a very misleading statement that he continued to make about his service.
It kind of just sat there, when he was a congressman, he bragged that he was a retired command sergeant major. I'm the highest ranking person ever in the House, and all this lie that he was telling. The state of Minnesota came out after 2018, after this was exposed, and they said, well, he can say that he served as a command sergeant major, but he can't say he's a retired one because he's not.
And that's what he was saying.
And he was saying that, and there was lots of lots of cards coming in the mail, for him to be elected. They said right on there he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, just hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in.
Hanging on the coattails of the people who actually did the work is what this man says. Hanging on their coattails. Bragging about himself. And lying about his rank. These are big no-nos. I know this. I've been asking guys who are currently enlisted right now all morning. Because I don't pretend to speak the jargon, right? E9, like E7, I have a rudimentary understanding of it. But the reality is that command sergeant major is very different from a master sergeant. So these are military terms, but they mean a gigantic cavern of difference. Ladies and gentlemen, a master sergeant is what Tim Walz retired as. Anyone who works in the military knows these things. A command sergeant major is a different title that he does not have. Yet he inflates his rank, along with his belt line, in Congress and records videos like this, lying to young men going to Iraq. Watch.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congressman Tim Walz. It's a real honor to be able to pay tribute to the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division and to your families and friends as you prepare to deploy in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired Command Sergeant Major, I'm especially proud of you. You are continuing a long and great tradition of service by the citizen soldiers of the 34th.
But he's not a Command Sergeant Major. That's not true. The military tells us that's not true. So is he making an honest mistake? Of course he's not. Add it all up. Lied about service in Afghanistan. Lied about service in Iraq. Lied about his rank. Knowingly. Had all these articles, all these glossy articles published about him for years. Years. Claiming he was an Iraq war veteran. There's a specific author. Greenberg is his name. ALX, go find this guy. He's the guy who's stealth editing all of his pieces. These politicians, they get their hooks into a reporter, and then they get them to write all their lies for them. and depending on how big you are as a politician, you can get you have a phalanx of reporters that you leak to, and you get them to write like puff pieces about you. This guy has been like the guy. Can you imagine being this guy who's been writing the puff pieces about Tim Walz? Well, this guy has had to now go back and correct like decades of writing about Tim Walz being an Iraq war veteran. Why hasn't Tim Walz ever asked for a correction? Because he liked the lie. Because he ran on the lie. Because it's baked into his campaign ads. And now it's starting to collapse. Members of Walz's battalion are speaking out. This is now the entire slate, primetime slate of Fox News last night, were members of his battalion going, hey, I want to talk about this guy. Let's listen.
Tom, you served in Walz's battalion. When you heard that Kamala tapped him to be VP, how'd you feel?
That was a tough one. I seen the leadership he did in Minnesota, and I have my stories about what he did to the military when he left us like that. And that was kind of like, are you kidding me? That's all I could think.
When you were there in this battalion and you heard you were going to deploy, and then you found out your leader, Walz, wasn't going with you, he had ditched, what was everybody saying?
But it wasn't so bad for the troops at that time because they didn't really know what was going on. Where it really hit them is when they came back, and then it all exploded as what he got out to do, to go into politics and stuff like that. And then when Tom Barron's, Command Sergeant Barron's story came out and they found out what he did, then people were mad because we all did what we were supposed to do. We did the right thing, and it's dishonorable what he did. He left somebody else up to take over his spot. He just ditched us.
Dishonorable. It is dishonorable. Listen, you don't have to be a veteran. I'm not. You don't have to be a veteran to know that it's dishonorable. Just consider your loyalty to your brother, to the brothers that you have living today. You don't have to be in the military to know that you must have loyalty to like your friends, your family, your bloodline, your children. Just look at your own family unit, your children, your mother, your father. I mean, these are biblical loyalties that you have to have. Abandoning them is immoral, right? And this is like this is made far more profound when you look at the fact that many of these men in his battalion did not come home. Some of these guys died in combat, and Tim Walz abandoned them and then lied about his combat experience. Whew. Other members of that battalion are hitting the airwaves saying, yo, this guy abandoned us. Watch.
That's way far darker than a lot of people think. I mean, it is stolen valor. He's used the rank that he never achieved in order to advance his political career. He's done it for decades now, basically. I mean, maybe not decades, but damn close to it. I mean, he still says he's a retired command sergeant major to this day, and he's not. He uses his rank of others to make it look like he's a better person than he is. He still does it, even, just however long ago.
I'm telling you, man, these military community, you may not see it, and I'm not sure if it's going to show up in the polls because it's hard to poll, but the group chats that I'm on, and there are some that are made up of military veterans, the chat boards are going nuts about this. This means something deeply and profoundly to these men, and so many of them who travel with the scars to this very day. This hits. Now, there are millions of veterans around the country who are going to be affected by this, and millions, tens of millions, who support them, who are their family members. And this is a profound truth that Tim Walz used them and used their sacrifice in order to get further ahead in politics and abandon them in their time of need. Corey Mills, member of Congress, sounding off on this last night. Let's have a listen.
Well, look, I think it's very clear that when your job as a leader is to continue to try and fight and deploy alongside your troops, that the idea of running for politics should be the last thing in your mind. You know, look at where I wasn't actually supposed to go to Iraq during the invasion. And I went to my brigade commander and had to get a 6-month extension because I had an indeterminate service date that wouldn't have allowed me because of the amount of time left. So I got an extension so that I could be stop-lost in an effort once I'm deployed to be able to fight alongside my guys instead of abandoning them. That matters. And you know who else was willing to deploy and didn't try and run away from it? Our great Senator, J.D. Vance, a person who was willing to actually go ahead and put himself out into the field to be shot and killed, or to make, as President Lincoln said, the last full measure. So I think it's despicable that even after all of this, he should have at least came back and said, I was promoted to Command Sergeant Major, I never went to the academy, and I was actually demoted back to Master Sergeant, but I was able to help with leading a battalion, or I was able to help, but he's not doing that. This guy's trying to continue the lie in an effort to try and see if he can gain military favor from veterans, when the real combat veteran and vice president in the future will be J.D. Vance.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.D. Vance had quite a response to this yesterday. Hey, Alex, is this the full clip? Because this clip is on fire. J.D. Vance was on fire yesterday. Man, we're going to get to the plane mogging in just a second because he walked up to Kamala Harris's plane yesterday and was just primo content. But this was the start. J.D. Vance is tired of being kicked around, actually. J.D. Vance got a genius level IQ, did sign up and serve his military, did deploy to Iraq, and here's what he had to say about Tim Walz.
Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Walz, it's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to point out that Tim Walz is somebody who lied about his military service and then leaked it to the press, continued to allow the press to lie. Joshua Green is someone who, writing for Bloomberg, not the Wall Street Journal, just make sure that we correct this, writing for Bloomberg, has been knowingly and wantonly lying on behalf of Tim Walz, going to Iraq, having to correct all of his articles in shame. This is a man who has access to Tim Walz, does interviews with Tim Walz. And so the question is Tim Walz telling him he went to Iraq? Because you can see it here in his journalism. You can see it here in what he's writing about Tim Walz, and he's been writing about Tim Walz for a long time. He's having to go back and correct years of reporting on Iraq. So who's giving him these lies? Is he making them up? Or is Tim Walz telling him this? Obviously, you know the answer. So he's being called out. These military communities, you don't want to F with them. There's a trend right now, me not being Tim Walz, where you have various users on X, some of them with massive accounts, some of them just, smaller accounts on X that are posting photos of themselves. We can cycle through them here. Not being Tim Walz during their deployments to Iraq. me not being Tim Walz during their deployments to war zones around the world. Here's a photo of me not being Tim Walz. Kurt Schlichter, you may know him. He's great. There's a photo of Kurt Schlichter, I think, in Minneapolis. I'm not exactly sure. Here's a photo of me not being Tim Walz. Sean Parnell is one of our dear friends. Let's continue. Sean Ryan has an awesome YouTube page. This is a photo of me not being Tim Walz. Some of us answered the call, and some of us, Tim Walz, cowered in the rear. Yep, that's exactly right. And my entire feed is flooded with this trend. It's amazing. This is just it's very, very small portion of the trend. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is a photo of our next guest not being Tim Walz. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the great Wesley Hunt in Iraq with the helicopters that he was flying on his deployment to a combat zone. Joining us now, the great congressman from Texas and U.S. Army veteran, Congressman Wesley Hunt. Congressman, thank you so much for being on the program. And I'm sure you can imagine what we want to talk about today. Yeah. But we're glad to have you on the program because we want to talk about it correctly. I myself am not a veteran, so I don't pretend to speak for this community. But I can tell you this: my phone is melting down with vets that I know and GWAT veterans that I know that are pretty upset right now about what's going on with Tim Walz. The floor is yours, sir. Is this stolen valor?
Well, you basically spelled it out. You've articulated this very well. And I want to say that, there's less than 1% of this country that chooses to actually serve this country in any capacity. So one service is very important. The fact that you chose to raise your hand to defend this country in any capacity, I think it's a great thing to do. It shows your patriotism. You don't have to lie about your service. You don't have to lie about what you did or didn't do. And if you did not serve in a combat zone and you claim that you did under any capacity, that's a lie. And it's actually a slap in the face to all of us who actually did. And by the way, we're not going to criticize you in any way, shape, form, or fashion for being honest about your service, because service is service. But when you look at somebody that's now potentially can be the vice president of our country, and he can't tell the truth about his own personal service and about those that did serve in combat, and quite frankly, for those that served in combat that didn't make it back, like many of my friends, like many of my West Point classmates, like many that served in Afghanistan, like there's 13 soldiers that did not come back after that disastrous Afghan withdrawal. When you think about those people that actually put their lives in harm's way, and you as a sergeant major or master sergeant, whatever your rank was ultimately, served, but chose not to go into combat, but the claim that you did go into combat is a complete abomination, and he should be called out for it. But this is what I call people trying to trump up their resume. They're trying to do things that they didn't say, trying to sound more badass than they really are, and I think it's pretty ridiculous. He's a fraud. And so the only thing that he should have said at that point was, I served for X amount of time, I served proudly, and that's it. Leave it alone. There is no need to embellish, there is no need to lie about it, because again, fewer than 1% of our country chooses to do it anyway, whether you deployed or not. So it speaks to his character, Benny.
So it speaks to his character. He's held signs up that allegedly were handmade. He's done his own press releases on this. He's said it many times. He's also many times apparently lied about his rank. Now, you can educate me here. You were also in the Army. So a command sergeant major versus a master sergeant. Is there a difference there? Because he claims to be a command sergeant major, yet the record shows that he's a master sergeant.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to look into the details of that. I think apparently he was a command sergeant major, a CSM. A CSM certainly outranks a master sergeant. It's the rank right above. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he actually was a CSM and then he got demoted. I don't know if he never was a CSM. But again, why even play these games? If you were a master sergeant in the military, there's nothing dishonorable about that. You could just claim that and you could just own that. Like, why would you actually lie about it? And I think I haven't looked into the details of that. I've heard multiple things, but please know that today and tomorrow I do want to get to the bottom of it, because again, I don't want to get to the bottom of it for me, Benny. I want to get to the bottom of it for the American people so they can know who they're voting for. That's what's so important. And the next 90 days are very, very critical. And one's character, if they're willing to lie about their service, lie about their rank, lie about whether or not they served abroad or not, that's really important for somebody that could be a heartbeat away from the presidency.
Yeah. So in your deployment, did your leaders in your battalion, your unit, did they abandon you when you were being deployed?
No, absolutely not.
What would you have thought of your leader if they had done that? I mean, because I'm trying to think about my family and my brothers here and my company and the people who depend on me. And if times get tough, if I abandon them, if I take my kids to the orphanage and kick them out of my car and say, I never want to see you again, that's immoral, right?
Yeah,
and that's seen as immoral in any world. And I'm trying to, because I didn't go to combat and because I'm not a veteran, I'm trying to find something that's similar to this action. Serving for 24 years, and then as soon as your unit gets called up saying, see ya, I'm out, that does seem to be a betrayal.
It's the opposite of leadership, and especially with somebody of that rank. It's something that you don't want to see, because that's just what the young soldiers look up to, and you have to lead by example. That's the whole point of being in a leadership position, rather you're a non-commissioned officer or an NCO, or if you were a captain in the military like me. If you look above this pin that I wear every single day in the halls of Congress, I wear it above my congressional pin. It's my combat action badge. I put it on every single day as a reminder, and I put it above my congressional pin as a reminder of the time that I served in Iraq. And what I really fight for is the American people. And I am a fighter, and I am a soldier, and I'm an American, and I am a patriot far before and far above me being a member of Congress. And I use it as a reminder every day to know that I cannot turn my back on the American people. I cannot turn my back on the people in my district. And that's what it means to me. So when somebody behaves in this way, I feel like it besmirches the sacrifice that many of us made. And by the way, when you're an Apache pilot, and I have been in combat, I got to admit, I have been shot at. It's actually a terrifying time to think that I got shot at yesterday. I have to crawl back into this Apache tomorrow and do my job. And I might get shot at and I might get killed again. But if I don't do my job in my Apache, then somebody on the ground might not make it home to their mother. And I took an oath to defend them and to actually show up and do my job, even if it means my life. So this is very serious to people like me and very serious to veterans. And that's why our community is talking about it in this way. You know, this is why we are not Walz. This is pictures of us actually in combat zone saying, we are not that. We didn't lie about it. Here I am. And I did not run away from my duty and my responsibility, but I took an oath to defend this country.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you posted it, but we certainly have this photo of you serving in Iraq. And this is trending. It's the #1 trend in the world. And it's the trending throughout my feed, where I see at least 100, maybe thousands of veterans posting photos of them serving, saying, I'm not Tim Walz. And that's a pretty powerful statement. Your thoughts on this trend, I think it really speaks. It speaks a lot more than any attack ad possibly could, that veterans are now no longer silent.
And quite frankly, too, Benny, and I thank you so much for your deference. I thank you so much for honoring us by thanking us for our service. I've been listening to you for the past few minutes, actually, on your segment. And even though you didn't serve, you are very thankful for our service, man. And I really appreciate that, brother, to be absolutely honest with you, because this is actually a community issue. This is not something that I feel like a lot of civilians can really weigh in on, because at the end of the day, if you chose to serve this country, that makes you different. I mean, we are still in the top 1%. Walz, JD, me, the people that we're naming, we still served our country. So this is an internal issue amongst us veterans that we don't like it when even people in our community lie about their service, lie about what they did, lie about their rank. And so let us handle this. Let us talk about this, because we are the ones that did serve together, and we should be critical of those that actually lied about their service. And the fact that you're giving it to us and you're showing Corey Mills and you're showing myself and you're showing others that served and not attacking him because you didn't serve, I actually really appreciate that. And let us take care of this. Let us be the ones to criticize him, because we're the ones that put our lives on the line. We're the ones that have skin in the game, and we just don't like people that lie about their service.
This is what the show. I mean, this is what the stream's all about, right? It's like you give these voices. The voice. Trump taught us this, right? Like, the forgotten man and woman, and the American veteran. I mean, honor is nearly dead in the West, and the American veteran is one of the few honorable groups of people left in our society. And so you must give them a voice. So I've been texting everyone I know who's a global war on terror veteran this morning, and getting their take on this and trying to synthesize it all into the show. Many of them can't talk themselves, right? And don't have an audience. So that's what we were here for.
It means a lot.
I want to show you one quick clip and just get your reaction to it. Because again, I'm trying to synthesize this for the less than 1%, as you said, who actually serve their country, who may not understand these ranks and may not understand this issue. When Tim Walz is running for governor, he does a speech where he says, I want to ban all firearms because I carried them in war. Here's the speech, and I want to get your reaction to it.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Okay, so it's like, what does that say to you? And now this is an empirical fact, all right? He did not deploy to a war zone, and he's having to stealth edit all of his articles saying that he actually spent the war in Italy. So what does this say to you?
If he's claiming that a civilian-made AR-15 is a weapon of war, it just basically proves that he's never been to war. Because nobody that goes to war is going to pick up a civilian-made AR-15 and walk into war with it. And by the way, as an Apache driver, that's a weapon of war. It has Hellfire missiles on it, rockets, and a 30-millimeter chain gun. That's a weapon of war to me. And I'm really sick of liberals using the word weapon of war. This crap started with Beta Reward. They have no idea what a weapon of war is. These people can't tell me the difference between 5.56 and 7.62. And so if you're going to sit here and talk all that trash about, we're going to take your guns away and take away AR-15, and when I went to war and you didn't go to war, it just proves how ridiculous this argument is. And again, a civilian-made AR-15, I hate to break it to all you libs, that is not a weapon of war. I can show you a weapon of war. A saw is a weapon of war. My Apache is a weapon of war. An Abrams tank is a weapon of war. I could show you some weapons of war. An F-22 Raptor. Let's have a serious conversation about a weapon of war. And it's not a civilian-made AR-15 that you carried in war that you never even went to.
Whew. Whew, man, that's about as hot as the barrel of your saw, sir. Off the Apache. Holy smokes. That's a meltdown. I want to give you just the last word on this because we're starting to see a bit of a trend here. Joe Biden regularly said that his son died in Iraq. This is demonstrable. He said it on the record. Now, we could argue that he's mentally deficient and maybe he's forgetting. That's what the Her report argued. But he did say this, and many people claim that was stolen valor because he didn't die in Iraq, period. His son didn't die in Iraq. Kamala Harris openly bragged, and there's article after article about it, that she was the architect of the Afghanistan pullout that got 13 American soldiers killed.
That sounds about right.
As Joe Biden looks at his watch during the dignified transfer in Dover. Yeah. And so you're starting to kind of see it. They're starting to see like an architectural trend here with the Democrats that are being pushed for high office of great disrespect to the American service members. I just want to give you an opportunity to sound off on that, Congressman.
These people have no idea what they're talking about. Many of these people are morally bankrupt. I mean, we're talking about people that can't tell us the difference between a man and a woman. So how can we even imagine that they could be the architect of anything that's substantive or anything that's calculated regarding the military and that disastrous Afghan withdrawal? And how can we even expect these people to tell the truth about gun control and about what an AR-15 that you took to war is and not? I mean, these people are so confused that they have no idea which way is up. But Benny, I do want to end with this because I want people to understand this, that this election is very serious. This election is very important. This election comes down to basically two states, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. We as a party are stuck on 268, and they put Walz in here and they put Kamala Harris to placate their extreme left flank. We are in the fight for our lives for this country, and these people are willing to do anything to preserve and stay in power, even lie about their military service, even lie about their deployments, so they can try to win Wisconsin and win Pennsylvania. We have got to wake up and expose these people for what they are in the next 90 days. We have to get focused. We have to understand what's going on. We have to understand this is the most important election that we have had in our lifetimes. This segment is all about how these people are going to sell their souls to stay in power, and you're calling them out on it accordingly. But we cannot rest on our laurels because this election is not over.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's razor thin, and it's yeah. I mean, it's something that is truly a matter of life or death, and we will remind everyone that President Trump has been shot at more than Tim Walz. Please follow the congressman. Please follow. Well, you brought up being shot at, Congressman, so I thought we might as well. We know you're a strong ally of the president. Please follow the congressman. 250,000 people follow the congressman. They'll be one of the people that don't follow the great Wesley Hunt. And make sure that this country remains free and strong. Thank you. Godspeed.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Anytime, Benny. Thank you.
All right. Ooh, man, the congressman talked about Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. There's 1 million. Do you know there's 1 million veterans in Pennsylvania? One of the highest of any state. I wonder how they are reacting to all of this. Kamala was in Wisconsin yesterday and was in Michigan as well. I believe she was in both states. And she lost her mind on a series of protesters who showed up to heckle her. And this it very much shows you that she's not ready for prime time. This is Kamala Harris's first time off script at any of these events that are highly coordinated for her. You know, you can't get into these events without photo ID. Isn't that fascinating? Can't get into the Kamala Harris illegally installed Kamala Harris rally without a photo ID, but you can vote without a photo ID for Kamala. And that's something. Democrats, isn't that amazing? Wouldn't that be incredible to have somebody, just ask the question, hey, seems a little ridiculous. You're violating your own rules here, but this is the way. So Democrats, for freedom and free speech and, for angrily threatening anybody who disagrees with them. Watch.
Tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Ooh, whipping out the angry school marm energy Kamala Harris used during the Democrat debates. I'm speaking. During the Republican debate, yeah, I'm speaking. She's going to say, if her and Trump debate, she's going to do the same thing. I'm speaking. Oh, it's repulsive. I think America's over. Done with this stuff. We're over this stuff. This boom clap DEI you shut up because I'm talking. That's not how any of this works, right? And this act is exhausting. It's so tired. And I think that Kamala Harris is going to face the same thing that Marvel Phase 4 and Phase 5 have now faced, which is just give us Deadpool and Wolverine. We're done with this fake, pretentious, girl bossing. We're done with it. All right? Put it down. Get off the stage. This is precisely why you see Kamala Harris desperately reaching into her grab bag of fake accents, which she brought out again yesterday.
Hold on. You know what? Here, hold on. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November. We'll beat them in November. We'll handle that.
That's right. Code switching. Kamala Harris giving a speech to specific audiences when Kamala Harris is talking to specific audiences. Generalities that I will let you divine in the comment section. Kamala Harris suddenly becomes an extra from Gone with the Wind. Kamala Harris, the little girl who was born of professors in California and grew up in Quebec, suddenly becomes Foghorn Leghorn. It really is a special trait that she has. Really special. Also very special, JD Vance unleashed the JD Vance mogging of Kamala Harris. So exciting yesterday. This was our favorite clip of the day. So JD Vance and Kamala Harris landed their planes next to each other. They were both in Wisconsin. And they saw each other, right? The two planes saw each other. And JD Vance decided to walk over to Kamala's plane. Man, boy, this is the energy. Watch.
I figured I'd come by and one, just give a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the Vice President doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind, because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya. What would you like to hear from her? I'd love her to answer your questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to defund the police. She's the border czar, yet she's opened up the American southern border. This is a person who has to answer the questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she wrote for you guys. It's also insulting for the American people. But anyway, we're going to go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention. See ya.
That's the energy, baby. That's the energy. Photo up. Let's go. Look at this. This is the energy right there. Boom. The mogging. By the way, is that the secret? Is that one of the lady Ghostbusters that that was at the Trump rally? Oh no. Oh no. JD, watch your back. Watch out, JD. Look at JD Vance walking away, like all smiles. Look at that team. Oh man. Dude, what a crew. What a look. Kamala Harris did run from reporters. They literally used little Girl Scouts as a human shield to shield them from questions yesterday. And in an amazing moment, they run from questions about Walz's stolen valor, about Kamala Harris's illegitimate campaign yesterday, and JD Vance was the only one answering questions in front of the plane. How much is the press rigged against JD Vance and against the Trump campaign? He walks up and he's like, "Got any questions for me?" Nope. Okay, see ya. Why has Kamala Harris not spoken to any of you? They're all like, "Mm." Because they know that by answering the question that they prove the point. It's amazing. I think that this is them at the plane. Let's go.
Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response. Governor. Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response.
Bro is cooked. Good luck. Good luck. Ducking and hiding. The sugar high will wear off. You'll notice that all these big rallies always has to include some major Grammy Award winning artist. It always has to include a free concert from a famous musician, like yesterday's did, like the Atlanta rally did. It's remarkable. It's gimmicks and tricks. It's not real. It's all fake. It's fructose, high fructose, corn syrup that's been infused with red dye number 5. Not good for you. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, to support our programming, because we will be live later today for Donald Trump's press conference. He'll have a press conference at 2 p.m. And so we're going live then. We're going to be live for the next 90 days. Just expect to see a lot from us. We're doing a great deal of exciting work for the DNC. Get ready. And if you wish to support us, the Benny Brigade. It's $5 a month, 1 month for free, $55 a year. I can't get out of the Chick-fil-A drive-thru line, the ordering for my family, without $55. My wife went to Chick-fil-A the other day and said that to just get chicken nuggets for the girls, it was over $20. So this helps support our mission to tell the truth. We have the #1 documentary that we have produced together on the Trump assassination. They want to bury that story. They want to put that in the ground. Nope. They tried to put Trump in the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what supports our team. Go to BennyJohnson.com, sign up. The Benny Brigade helps us roll on. Ladies and gentlemen, what also helps us roll on is our verse of the day. The verse of the day from 1 John. For every child of God defeats this evil world, and we achieve this victory through our faith. It is an evil world, and ain't nothing going to save us. No party, no man, no mere mortal will save us. We have our faith in God. We have our faith in God and his son, Christ. Christ is king, and we say it on this program. And so, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we march forward because we know the victory is assured. We know that we can defeat evil in this world, that we are children of God. And we're going to be victorious. We're going to march forward to victory. It's going to be very, very exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Benny. We'll be back live for President Trump's press conference very, very soon, and also some special guests joining us there. We'll see ya. Stay based.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.